put this off camera.
Awesome. Well, first of all, thank you so much for doing this. It may sound weird because I cover Oscars and things like that sort of mainly, but I would make the case that IJ might be like one of the most important shows on TV. And I know that sounds weird, but nothing else just
Why do you think it sounds weird?
Yeah.
I don't
Nothing
think it
else.
sounds weird.
Oh, of course. That's why you made it.
No, yeah. No, I'm waiting to hear the follow-up.
Nothing else so clearly wants to make you happy.
Oh, wow.
And
thank you so much. What a way to start an interview.
Yeah. And I'm like, I've had two very like sort of rough breakups in my life, one currently. And it's sort of the only thing I know that makes me feel better, even just sort of temporarily. And I can't be the only one of this schmuck it has it happen to. It definitely works. And there's something to it. There's an alchemy there to, we're gonna be stupid so that you feel better for a half hour. And obviously a lot goes into that, but I mean, over the years it's clearly been working. So I'm just also wondering, like, at what point did you realize it was working?
That's a great question. So I had the weirdest experience. The first show aired in December of 2011, December 15th to be exact. Just so happened about 2.5 weeks later, I was in San Francisco with my parents visiting some other family. We were walking down by the pier and I heard someone call me from behind. They were like, "Sal, is that you?" And again, the show has been on the air for 2 weeks. Yeah. So I stopped and I turned around. They were like, and it was a group of kids and they were like, "Oh my God, it is you." And they're like, "Recognize your voice."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh, wow. Okay. So if that's the way it's going to be." I didn't realize it. And then that was the first sign that I saw that people would be like that enthused about it.
Yeah.
Just from then on. And that's something we never planned too. Like people do come to me and come to us and tell us what the show means to them. Like I never thought that would be like the scope of how I speak about the show, right? It was just comedy show. I'm a comedian. I'm trying to do my best, but like you start to realize after a while, like from all the feedback that it certainly means something more to people than just the silly jokes we're making. So that was like eye-opening. We don't take that for granted. So even hearing it from you, it never gets old. Like you say that to me and I'm always like, what? Like, I can't believe it every time someone says it, but I'm happy to help you through the breakup.
We try. And
my own show didn't help me through my own breakup. So at least it's helping you.
No, I was about to say, no one actually making the show hasn't helped them in any way except financially. But it is weird to watch. At one point it was just, oh, Q's that guy that like isn't the people I know of on that podcast that Kevin Smith's friends do. Everything just comes very naturally. And over the years, like I see you do stand up because I go to a podcast taping they do, and it's like, oh, they're doing it. And over the years, just the opportunities that it presents also must be, besides like making a movie, being able to tour, there's something there besides just being recognized that must mean that it's working, and I'm sure the fact that they keep going, make more, doesn't hurt.
My God. Yeah. I mean, Lord knows they play it a lot, but we start filming season 10 Wednesday. And the end of season 9 starts June 16th, which you probably know. Yeah, I mean, everything we've got to do. We had a cruise off of this thing that we did 4 years in a row. The touring. We start touring again February 2023. I'm touring now as a stand-up, so I'll tour for like the year, and then we do their tour, and then I tour again. So just to help launch me doing stand-up, which is tough because the show is a beast. It takes up so much time, but yeah, so just that, like, that lift to help me too. It's like it's been crazy. And we've had like spin-off shows and stuff. We had After Party and Joker. We had a short-lived thing called Joker's Wild, which is a sketch show back in 2014 that I think didn't get a fair shake, actually.
I liked it. I think, honestly, this may sound weird. I think Dinner Party was the best of the lot.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that doesn't sound weird. People, I was the right timing on that. Like it was funny because we were like, well, we wanted, people started to do Zoom, like Zoom became acceptable on television.
Yeah.
Then after that happened, we were like, well, how do we get in on that?
Yeah, wait, we can get paid for eating?
Yeah, exactly. We were like, we wanted to do a live podcast. Actually, that was the original idea.
Yeah.
Just do a live podcast because people wanted that connection. You know what I mean? And we're like, people like seeing us every week. And then we needed to like wrap it in some type of theme. And I was like, well, what if we have dinner and we have guests and we eat dinner at dinner time, and they were like, yeah, like it was that easy. They were like, that's a good idea. We like that. And then it was 18 episodes. We booked all these guests, and it was that one for us too really was cathartic, to meet with each other every week, to get some of the crew back some work, and to just like, we really felt like we were in people's living rooms. Like the whole gist would be like, we would tell them what we're making on the menu for the next week, and then people would like tweet us and text and DM us and show us their meals, like they'd eat along with it. So it's kind of like really cool thing that wasn't expected.
Oh yeah, and probably fairly easy to do. Like obviously a lot of the show is comedic skills, and like, over the years you grow them, but I'm sure, especially for you, it must be interesting early on, there's writing, there's other people writing with you, but it's not all just, okay, I'm going to tell them what to say and I'm just going to think of it off the spot. Like, there's how many weeks of, okay, well, here's the thousands of different things we could be saying. Like what angle do we want to take? Are we feeling dirtier this week? Or do we have a thing we want to reference? Like, is that fun, or is that the work of it all? Because that's the thing that always fascinated me, is like, okay, the signs we're going to make the hold up or whatever nonsense it is that week. There's not this, if there's 12 that you're using and we see 4, there was 50 that got written and 20 that came to set that day. Like, how do you narrow down like the best joke?
I've never been asked that question ever. As a matter of fact, I always get asked the exact same questions for 10 years. Yeah. So sometimes I do want to kick myself in the nuts during these interviews, Oh, yeah. But
oh no, trust me. When I get like 5 minutes with it, like Andrew Garfield, I know it's like, well, you've never been asked. It's like, I'm not going to ask you anything new. So like, hey, does this suck doing this?
I appreciate that question. And a lot of people do see the show and they think it's like, the way they reference it is like, oh, you and your friends messing around, especially like the layperson. They just think it's like, we turn on the cameras, we're goofing off, and we happen to make a show that way. But you obviously know what goes into it. I think it's both, that is the work of it, but it also is the best part of it. You know what I mean? Because if you, I love what we do, and I love comedy. So for me, it's like, if I'm figuring out jokes and, and I'm editing jokes and getting to the meat, like on the bone, and what's the best and and then to see the joke pay off in the edit and all that stuff, like the process is the work, but the process is also the most fun part of it. So, people think it's unscripted. Like we get labeled a prank show. I don't think we're that. We get labeled a reality show. I don't think we're that.
Yeah.
I don't. Unscripted comedy that is complete, that is like just as much scripted though, because we have to conceive the bits, write them, produce them, and it's like improv whenever we want. That's the best part. Like, can be spontaneous whenever we want. And then I also have a bunch of jokes that I wrote or the writers wrote that I like, that I have on hand, and I kind of go back and forth between the two. But I was talking to Casey Jost, who was he's been with us the whole time. He was at one point our head writer, and now he's a director. And we were like, as far as comedy goes, like for comics, we don't really know. Like, we can't think of another show that is as good for comics as our show. We get to write thousands of jokes a week, like every couple, it's like, it's just a dream if you want to make jokes. It's like, we're in all different scenarios all the time, and there's no limit to the jokes that we can make. So it's like the sandbox that we created with this show for a comic is like a dream job. And so like, we're so aware of that. Because even if you're on a great show, it's a scripted show, it's something, you're kind of in a box or in a lane, or you have a directive, but like, we run the show, we make everything up, and we can go anywhere we want with it. So that kind of freedom is in comedy is like, I think it's kind of rare. So
I mean, if you you can fit it to your personalities very much. Like, okay, and also over the years, people grow to know, okay, this is what Q, this is what Sal would do, and you can feed off that or subvert it if you want. Whereas like, if you had the Sal Vulcano show and you were just married to like a 25-year-old woman, because that's what the show would be, it would have to be like, oh, and you have a disagreement over the dinner this week.
You have paperwork for that show? I'll sign that show.
I mean, you don't want my budget, because like, we're filming in my parents' house. Like, that's maybe not the best way to do that. But
you see where I'm filming. I'm at the top of a skyscraper right now.
Oh, I know. I love the Instagram. It's like I'm in St. Louis, and it's just the shittiest picture you can find. I get a kick out of those. But there's something to. It doesn't have to be the sitcom-y thing. It can be, well, what's bothering me at the moment, or just what do I find funny, and that can even feed into like the punishments, because I'm sure are fun, but also there's more work involved because you also have to like then deal with money. Like, wouldn't it be cool to do this? Like, yeah, we can't send him actually to space. We just that's the entire budget. Sorry.
See, like so over the years, like if you go back and watch the beginning, the show every show has to find its footing kind of. And then with success, we get a little more creative control. And then this show starts to a little bit more morph into, exactly what we intended. Where in the beginning, it was like, us kind of like managing up, down, and sideways and trying to do. But in the beginning, the budget was a lot lower. And also like we didn't have as much invested in us. So, the punishments, if you look at them in the first couple of seasons, are much more like just
you touching shit. That was the punishments for a while.
Yes, exactly right. I had to, they hid my car keys in like 50 pounds of elephant shit.
Yeah.
And then I dug through it all, and then they weren't in the shit, it turns out. So, but that was more of a season. And now this season is like absolutely insane. Like we put up a fake dating show, like in a studio, or like, like we did this whole big elaborate murder mystery thing. So yeah, with that kind of like freedom, we're able to just even like do more stuff, that's actually the most fun part right now. It's because it's almost like whatever we dream up now, we can almost achieve it. Where in the beginning we'd have to be like, can we do this? And then sometimes we'd be like, there's no way. Now it's like we could probably do almost anything we want. And that's the coolest thing too, to thinking of an idea that didn't exist a moment ago, and in like 3 or 4 days, people are putting it all together already. That kind of instant kind of gratification, like, from the thought through the process of doing it, and that quickly, is also like something that's so wild to me.
Because it's the same show is the thing. Like the budget's bigger, and obviously a lot of it is going to you guys actually, can eat now.
Who told you that?
I got a hunch.
Some of it's going to us.
Yeah. The production is still so similar that it can go from, well,
someone just had to buy my breakfast just now still. So
I mean, haven't you learned that haven't you learned
that
the more
$10
money
in my pocket?
I mean, listen, the more money you make, the less you pay for things. That's the secret.
That actually is true. But it's true for like really, really, really like.
Oh yeah, once you reach a level, you never buy.
I'm in this weird like middle place where people think, because you're like, like I don't necessarily get everything free like he does.
No.
Yeah, I still have to pay for stuff.
Yeah, but you're like,
stuff free.
Yeah, you're like, I could buy this, but if someone wants to, I will certainly take it.
Yeah, like someone will send me like socks. They're like, oh, we have a sock company. Try these socks. But like Tom Cruise is like, oh, we have like like a Maybach or whatever.
Yeah. It's like I would. It just happens. It just appears. But that's the thing. The show being the same, the budget can go to something as opposed to like, okay, we can rent a car and stuff you in it, and that's what we can do. Now it could be, we could extrapolate tenfold on that because that's what the opportunity is, and that's pretty cool.
It's a balance too, because I still love a simple idea.
Yeah,
nothing beats a simple idea for me. Like if the idea in and of itself is enough, just the idea in and of itself is enough. I love those just as much as getting elaborate.
Oh yeah,
they're relatable, they're simple. I like to still have a balance of both of those things.
Oh yeah, that's what, because it's what the show is. It's what that's the other balance, is people who watch it as comfort food or have it on in the background forever and ever, and hooking in someone new and as much as anything keeping you guys interested.
Yeah. So many people tell me they fall asleep to it. I'm like, is that a compliment or?
I mean, it could be.
I love you. I fall asleep to you every night. I'm like, oh, all right, okay. So are we doing our job or not?
Yeah, you're like, that's either a great compliment or really bad. Like, what else are you?
In a news campaign, like fall asleep to us.
I mean, listen, could be, as long as it's not your dating life, it's working out great. As we sort of wrap, I think that's the interesting thing, is that people make these connections to you guys that you never know. You never know what show's gonna hit, or like I what you're compared to, which is always unfair, because like you said, it's kind of in its own thing. But I would even argue, Jackass is a bigger thing. It's not the same thing, but like I don't know that people have the connection to those guys, because there's some of the fun there is like, oh, they're gonna get jacked up, and that's cool because they'll do it. Nobody wants you guys to get hurt. There's more of just like, I hope it works out.
Jackass so much in the beginning.
Yeah,
I think it was just about unscripted friends fooling around. That was the connection, but clearly people would realize I would be like, we're nothing. I would never do what they do. What I mean? That's crazy. You know what I mean?
It's not advisable.
I get the DNA that's the same, but but those guys are. Yeah, I think that's like for us, it's like more invested. Like when we first sold the show, there were people that wanted to buy the show and make it a game show and not have us on it. We were like, we think that if we're able to be on it ourselves and people can learn about us and then like invest in the characters and the competition, it might bode up. So then we ended up going with True on that. And that was like, I give credit to True on that because they like, yeah, that's the vision, you know.
That's bold on you guys' part, you know, like you're might still be owning a bar at the time, like using the fire department. It's like, you know, we're doing, you know, we're living, but like we might be able to do this thing. And like if we sold it, sure, we get paid, but like what if it's really good and we just like gave it away? You know, that would suck.
Yeah,
you know?
we had so many failures before it. So that's why I think we were more like holding it close to the vest a little bit. Like, well, if they like this idea, then this will be, because it didn't happen until I was in like, we were in like our mid 30s. I met the guys when I was 13.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind of crazy to think that that's how it unfolded. And now we start season 10 this week. This is wild.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, first of all, congratulations. And second of all, thank you again for doing this. I love everything. I was a big What Say You fan. So
right on, yeah.
I was waiting to reference I Have Your Pants, but I think the deeper cut is I'm still waiting for you guys to do the Saw movies.
Yes, man. I know. Q texted me last night at like 1 a.m. and he's like, I have an idea for What Say You, because we want to do it again. So then I do this podcast, Hey Babe, and another one called Taste Buds, and they're like weeklies that I started over the pandemic, you know? So we want to try to do that one too, but I just don't have enough time right now. But we're talking about a way to do like multiple limited runs of those as of like last night. So I'm glad that you still like it.
Oh yeah. That was my return to theaters last year or something like that, was the press screening for Spiral, the new one. It was in Times Square and it was empty. It was just me.
Oh wow, that's crazy.
Well, they knew I liked it, and also it was just like, that's the opportunity, and everyone else wanted a link to stay at home. I actually had the brief thought of, it's a shame I don't know you guys, because I would have been like, you guys can see the movie, because I remember there was like a Fast and Furious thing for you guys with that also.
We did Fast and Furious. We did every Fast and Furious except for Tokyo Drift.
Yeah.
Watch alongs on the podcast. We had no idea it would go like it did. It blew up, and then someone at Paramount contacted us and asked us, they heard what we were doing, and they asked us if we wanted to do live screenings of them.
Yeah.
Then every time a new Fast and Furious, which by the way, God bless Fast and Furious and everybody who makes them.
Yeah.
But like we're doing it because they're great movies to enjoy, but they're like
you don't know that you want them to host you actually commenting.
No, I mean, I'm happy to be asked and given the opportunity, but we are doing it also because they're insane movies.
Yeah,
no, they're logic, and it says so. We would do these watch alongs, and then we did a we hosted a premiere of Fast 7, I think it was, and we filled the theater up with all the What Say You fans. There's like 500 people in the theater. We watched it with them, and then we took the entire audience to Gotham Comedy Club, and then we did a live podcast with that audience right after. Now that I think about it, we were really ambitious with what we were doing back then. Like, and this was like 8 years ago, whatever it was.
Yeah, it's a long time ago.
Cool stuff. We took our whole audience one time to see Gallagher.
Just because,
we filled up the whole theater with like What Say You fans, and we used to do like trips, like I don't know what we were thinking, but I think it's kind of cool. Yeah,
it was great. I know you have more of these to do, so thank you for doing this, and long live Nugget.
Thank you so much, and I really appreciate it. Thanose for those questions. I appreciate it.
Totally. Thank you.
Right on.